Hi, TheCinemaRanger here, and I have selected this location, a beautiful pine forest, as the spot for my latest review, which is Knives Out, actually analysis. And I guess I kind of like the spot because when I look up, it sort of reminds me of that circle of knives that has become a kind of iconic of the film, with that hollow center. So this seemed like as good a location as any, because I don't live in New England. For starters, I really like the film, one of my favorites of the year. Kind of began thinking, yeah, this is pretty good, decent whodunit, but by the middle I was completely engrossed, and all the twists and turns did surprise me, and I appreciate that when a movie can surprise me. But I'm not really into the review thing, so I want to focus a little bit more on a brief analysis of what I think is some political symbolism in the film. And I think what Rian Johnson is tackling is sort of a look at what happens as white hegemony begins to lose its power. And of course, the statistics are pretty clear that in the coming decades, white America will lose its plurality, and become something of a minority. And I think what we see here is, of course, the wealthy family sort of represents traditional, sort of old school conservative America, whereas Marta represents an incoming immigrant class. So, you know, and so right off the bat you can sort of take it that way, but there are a number of clues that, you know, Johnson wants us to think about these things, the ongoing political arguments throughout the film, which may seem superfluous, but upon further analysis really do get us thinking about this idea. And I think it's pretty cool the way it handles it, because we see in the family political views that are both left and right, but neither side of that political spectrum has any idea where Marta is from. There's this sort of running joke throughout the film that each family member seems to think she's from a different part of Central or South America, and that reflects, I think, on both the left and the right, this larger disinterest in the actual identities of immigrant people, that they're almost a prop for a political debate rather than addressing them as human beings, friends, colleagues, compatriots. The whole thing with Marta is, you know, everyone loves her until she has power, and then they hate her, and they, you know, ultimately want to kill her. Chris Evans does, which is a brilliant choice, having Captain America himself try to stab this, you know, symbolic immigrant figure. So a great bit of, you know, meta cinema there, where the casting choice sort of also speaks to the larger themes that the film is working with. And, you know, I think we can look at that circle of knives. I mentioned it earlier, but I don't think that's empty of meaning either. There's this sort of world we live in today where, you know, we cycle through our targets, I guess, through social media and other platforms. You know, it's the, you know, who is the enemy of the day. And I kind of like the way the film keeps putting different characters in front of those knives, because it's got a bullseye kind of quality, and there's all these points, you know, aimed right at their head. And so, you know, most of these characters at one point or another sit in front of these knives and are the target of Blanc's investigation. And I think that's, you know, kind of the point, is that we shuffle through our enemies until, of course, Marta ends up being in the hot seat. And the question is will she survive her final trial? And then, of course, the other major prop is the cup, which, you know, very sort of almost literally has the, you know, my house, my rules written on it. And so, I mean, that's ultimately what the cup tends to represent. At the end is, you know, who's got the power? The cup at the beginning, you know, my house, my rules. Well, in the end, it's Marta who's got that cup, and she's looking down at the family from a porch after all of these ups and downs, these trials and tribulations. She does emerge victorious, and there's sort of an inevitability to all of that I think is sort of built into the film, so that we can think about what it means now that Marta has power, and to what extent she will extend mercy to those who have been cruel to her. It's, I suppose, a fair question to ask, as any kind of population sees its power dynamic dwindling and shifting. And, you know, the family's desperation to hold on to what is clearly going away, you know, reflects a broader anxiety in general American population as it sees its power base dwindle. Very clever film. If you're looking for something of great quality and value to watch over the winter break, Definitely recommend this one. You won't be disappointed. Finally, on a personal note, as someone who quite enjoys The Last Jedi and didn't fully understand the ire and angst that that movie spawned, there's this great part in Knives Out where they have this car chase, and it's kind of an oddball car chase because Marta's car is old and slow, and at the end of it, the Daniel Craig character Blanc, he gets out and says that was the worst car chase ever. And I definitely think that Rian Johnson put that in there as sort of a throwback or a nod or a wink to all those people who hated the space race in The Last Jedi, as if to say, well, here's an even worse car chase, although in Knives Out it was actually better. Anyway, I'm the Cinema Ranger. I hope you like this video, and I hope you continue to watch. You can find more of my films in these links. I hope our paths cross someday.